said, be brave, my son, I'll be home soon. The boy held on to hope till he got that awful news. And as they folded up the stars and stripes, 21 guns pointed towards the sky. As the shots rang out, he flinched a little each time. Then a soldier in his best dress walked up to him, and you know the rest.
This show is brought to you by Operation Encore. Operation Encore is a 501c nonprofit that is helping change the lives of our veteran community. Let me tell you a little bit about what they do. They are helping veterans get into the music industry. They're helping them learn the business, get songs recorded, and not only that, making dreams happen. You know, most of these veterans have got the idea of becoming a musician way before they went into the military. And Operation Encore is filling that gap from while they served in the military and helping them change their lives and live out those dreams. Operation Encore is a nonprofit. You can go to this link right there and click on it, give them a little help, hit that donate button, follow them, learn about all the great things that Operation Encore does for our veterans. Hey, welcome everybody to Spirits and Stories with Donald Dunn, man. So I am happy to have y'all coming back. Another episode, another great time. We're back with another veteran, talking some tech, talking some business, and we're going to have a damn good time. So let's introduce Tim Branyan. He's a tech industry veteran and entrepreneur who has been leading successful projects since 2010. After serving in the United States Air Force, he decided to pursue his passion for software development and launched his first project with just $6,241.56 and no formal education. You can't even get a car for that price anymore. Since then, he has launched hundreds of apps, developed numerous platforms, and supported other multi-million-dollar projects, scaling to millions of users and millions of dollars in revenue across his companies. Let's bring on Tim. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, and excited to dive into a conversation.
Yeah, man. So let's start a little bit about what brought you into the military, man. How did the Air Force come about in your life?
I'm so thankful that it did. I'm so grateful that it did, man. I wasn't going anywhere fast. I grew up here. I wasn't going anywhere successful fast. Going the wrong way pretty quick. I was a reflection of who I was hanging around with, and none of us really had a plan. We were just kind of living in the moment, living for the party, living for the booze, and got those results. So for me, man, it was really just restlessness and discontent, and the limited opportunities, I guess, that were around here in Kokomo, Indiana, where I'm from, and very primitively, I looked at the guys that graduated from high school that went to the service and would come back after their training was done, et cetera. And I would just listen to who they were, who they became was different, how they carried themselves, what their jobs were things that I'd never heard of before. Some of these guys were working on planes. Some of these guys were working on tanks. Some of these guys just had cool careers. And then, I was weighing them against, I guess, putting them against some of the folks that just went to university. And those guys didn't really have a whole lot of change. They didn't even have any change in their pockets either. They were kind of broke. They came back. They couldn't buy beer at the bar. They were putting on more pounds too. So I looked at that and I was like, okay, I knew myself enough that knew that I would have been distracted in college with women and partying, and I wasn't really prepared for that route. So I thought, love it or hate it, I could marry this thing for 4 years. And I think who I could become would be a good return. And I wish I had, this super meritorious mindset and heart posture for my reason to join. That wasn't me. I was looking specifically at what's in it for me, what I could get, certifications, money. It was very much strategic until I joined, and then it changed my life. So that's how I got in. was just through restlessness, discontent, simple comparing and contrasting. And dude, I'm still to this day just thrilled that I made that choice, and it changed my life for the better.
Yeah. No, I completely get it. I was 94, not going anywhere, got married right out of high school. So I joined looking for food on the table and some stability, and I had no idea what growing up was because I still was a kid. I doing the wrong things and not really caring. And so I agree, man. It brought some maturity to me, and me and my wife still together today. Started dating in 7th grade, so still get together today. And I think a lot of that's because of the Army keeping me deployed and keeping me away. She was able to deal with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're married
So
in 7th. So you knew her since 7th grade.
yeah,
Wow,
1990. Yeah, 1990s when we started dating, and
that's awesome.
got married in 94, and now we're just old.
Yeah. Let the good times roll, man.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what was your MOS in the Air Force? What'd you come in as?
Yeah. So my job, I was, when I was getting recruited, I was very much ready to get out of my hometown, and I wasn't open general, but my my ASVAB scores were pretty low. I barely, thank God for the war, because they lowered the ASVAB score requirements to get into the Air Force. So I just barely passed by like 2 points and was able to get in. And I joined as a military police officer. So I was security force, what's called in the Air Force.
Yep.
And that just, I don't know, it just made sense. At the time, I thought, I want to do something. I want to do something where, when I get out, it will look great on a resume. And I just thought, if I'm a federal police officer, if I'm a military police officer, that's going to look great on a resume no matter where I go. It's kind of this general skill that I think will be a thumbs up to any employer group. I didn't have an entrepreneurial mentality at that time. I was thinking, how can I improve my resume and be sought after?
Mm-hmm.
So, got into that career field, and thankful that I did. Arguably, it can be a very mind numbing career field. It can be very, there's static security in there, but there's also, jobs that are pretty cool as well. You can do military dog handling. You can, do PSD, personnel security detail. You can work in a dispatch center. There's a lot of different roles inside that career field. I think that's similar to other career fields, but I'm just glad I did it, man. It built character, helped me learn how to adapt and overcome, and was held to a pretty high standard. Being that you're a police officer in the military, you kind of got eyes on you. So, that's the prerequisites, I guess the requirements are pretty pretty high, but with that comes a lot of pressure too. So anyway, I'm glad that I did that. I got to deploy, and wouldn't change a thing. Nowadays, if I was to go back in, I think about this now, like if I was to go back in and actually choose a career field, I'd very much be interested in contracting, like a contract officer role, just because it's so fascinating to me. The purchasing and then the military or the federal appetite for buying, acquisition, stuff like that. It's just pretty cool.
Yeah, I learned quite a bit about that while I was stationed in Qatar, because I worked hand in hand. I was in charge of the contract for all the civilian vehicles that we were renting. And so I worked with the other actual contractors, the ones that did it, for their job. And it is pretty cool the way they determine. A lot of people think it's always just the lowest bidder, and it's not a lot. They take a lot of things into consideration. Women owned, size of the company, all that type of stuff comes into play when they award a bid. So it is pretty cool. I can completely.
It's an interesting world, man. There's a lot of moving parts, a whole slew of new acronyms. As far as the entrepreneurial side, the way to hustle that industry and build connections, and even something simple, you'd think like invoicing is not very simple through those systems and processes, but to learn it is just cool. And then, there's definitely a lot of money in that industry and a lot of service that's needed.
Yeah.
So that's become a cool interest point for me as an entrepreneur.
I mean, it does make sense, because you're working hand in hand with businesses, and as an entrepreneur, I when I got out of the military, I opened up a trucking company, and I didn't know shit about owning a business. I just knew I was a mechanic in a town that didn't need mechanics. And so I started a job, by creating one. And I did that for about 6 years, but it's a whole different animal because it's ironic because everybody says, I want to be my own boss. I want to start my own business so I can work my own schedule. And then what I learned was that schedule is 24/7 because when you're
Yeah.
not physically at work, you're thinking about work or doing your invoices or taxes or something, that doesn't get done throughout the day. So being an entrepreneur is not easy. And
It's not.
you deal with a lot of that stuff in the contracting world as well. So
100%. And I told you before we hit the record button that I was just meeting with 3 veterans that are starting a laundromat, and it's really cool. I love connecting with veterans and giving them the lay of the land. I truly think they're uncommon as far as their ability to adapt and overcome. Go figure. All of us had different positions in the mission, but the characteristics that you develop is figure it out.
Yep.
Hurdle the obstacles enthusiastically as much as possible. And that's really a great thing, a great skill to have as an entrepreneur and business owner, as you know. And I think using that skill, using that strength to try to work yourself out of a job is also wise, just so you can avoid some of the pitfalls of just, being owned by your business versus
Yep.
working on it. You tend to work inside of it and get focal syndrome where you got blinders on, and that's fun. I didn't dig into this in our initial conversation, but yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own companies and such, but I also am a state servant. I have a role inside of Indiana Economic Development Corporation and the Small Business Development Corporation, in which I get the chance to help small business owners all over our region, and some of those are veterans. And I love working with veterans and helping them get their expectations right and getting access to these no-cost solutions and resources, man. And it's been a really fulfilling new mission, right? Is that world. So,
well, I'm gonna tell you that's a mission that is a lot of people don't realize, but when you're going through the out processing of the military, you hear that's the one class that's like packed is the small business class on, because everybody's going to start a business. I mean, everybody's going to get out of the military, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
And probably only 1 out or 2 of them out of 100 succeed, but that's just the mindset. We are there to learn and to lead, and that whole I'll figure it out as I go is the veteran mentality. So I do think that there's an awesome opportunity to be able to help veterans that are trying, because if they go, it's a double-edged sword. If they go down the wrong road, they're not going to quit. They're not going to give up. They're just going to keep going down that wrong road, until they figure it out. And if they have a little bit of guidance and help them, and they have that same mentality going down the right road, man, they can go, the sky's the limit. And I think that's important. I kind of always tell
agree.
When the soldier gets in trouble, he just keeps digging. And then when you finally go to offer him help the first time, you say, hey, you done digging that hole yet? And he said, oh yeah, hold my beer. I can keep digging. And you got to wait till the damn shovel breaks before he quits. So
that's a good mentality. And so as like we're describing like transitions assistance programs, or these groups that are getting vets prepared for civilian life, or like the next chapter, next thing that they want to do, that's something I'm going to consider trying to network with. I'm like having this thought right now. I'm going to write it down. I'd love to find more transitions assistance programs or department heads, and just let them know about who we are, what we're doing here in my region. I think there's probably some around here at Grissom maybe, or other bases that are in our world, because that's really one of our pain points is no one knows who the heck the SBDC is, or how to make sense of SBA.gov. It's pretty complex as far as all the slew of resources. It could be comparable, to all the resources veterans have, right? It's this huge database, and everywhere, depending on where you're at, you may have more or less resources geographically. So to make sense of that, that's really what our our mission is in our department as the SBDC. We're truly the liaisons between resources. If folks listening to this are familiar with VSOs, Veteran Service Officers, or I think that's their title, Veteran Service Officer Organizer. That's us, but specifically as it pertains to small business development and entrepreneurship support. So if that helps paint a better picture, that's us. And it just so happens because I am a vet, I speak their language. I can talk shit a little bit. We can get into the weeds. I feel home when I'm talking with veterans. It's less of a stiff conversation. Sometimes I have stiff conversations, and that's been a learning experience. But like I said, just talking with that group, I just feel good. It's nice having a conversation with my brother. So,
yep. So let me ask you, was you doing this before COVID, or how long have you been doing it?
Thankfully not. I started after that whole mess. I didn't know what the SBDC was a year and a half ago. If I would have definitely gotten in the way of opportunity, information, and the stuff. I became aware of it last year. There's a guy, I'm in an office building, and my office is on the second floor. The SBDC's office is on the first floor, and we have like a co-working space inside this building as well. So I would see this guy in passing, and I would hear him talking on the phone every now and again about like economic development and these cool things. And I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I was eavesdropping, just kind of listening. And eventually, after some months passed, I said, dude, hey, what do you do? What is this office? What is this stuff? What is this acronym? What's SBDC mean? What's this? So he made me aware of it, and we developed a friendship. He's also an entrepreneur, and a lot of everything that I'm not really good with, like predictions. And what I mean by predictions is like bookkeeping and projections on where numbers are going to mean. He's like a CFO type. Yep. And I'm more like the creative innovator problem solver dude. So we developed a relationship, and then we connected on LinkedIn. Next thing you know, I see this job offer that's describing what I'm already doing for free, like helping people get connected to one another, to tools, resources, and stuff. And that turned into a conversation that now turned into, a year and a half later, I've been doing this and love it. And it's been fun to just work on things that as an organization we're trying to improve. So he and I, as entrepreneurs, we're applying the same mentality to this service of how do we get awareness out there, right? How do we get in the way of entrepreneurs? How do we really track what success looks like? How do we help our people get profitable that come into our world? And it's just been a lot of fun, man. And it's a new bone to gnaw on, new mission. So yeah, it's been a blast. I'm excited about it. But yeah, thankfully before or after the pandemic is when I got involved. I've heard, horror stories, I guess, of how they had to transition and what all that looked like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have kind of, or they're past COVID, but I think as far as the small business owner, it's fresh in their mind still about what they went through and everything else. So I think, organizations like yours, I'm sure they probably adapted maybe a different strategy to help people set themselves up for something that could potentially happen again and be in a better position than what we were, at that time.
Oh yeah.
Nobody expected it to happen,
No, I think it forced a lot of innovation, and that can be really uncomfortable. Obviously there's a lot of discomfort, but I think also I would hope that some people are now seeing an even bigger ROI from the products or service that they were selling. Like they went online or they adapted, they added a pavilion space to their restaurant, etc. Those folks that innovate and evolve, like they're always, they can fight the test of time and the test of, the need to adapt and kind of fight. But yeah, I think we're super helpful in that. And this is just me thinking back during those times, is just helping make sense of what the PPP was, what the EIDL loan was, what ERC was, the employee retention credit, what all this stuff meant, and then helping people get in the way of those things. That's kind of what we're doing now, with just different grant programs and different, things that sometimes are a little complex to unpack, and just making people aware of that stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like when I advise clients, a lot of my time is mainly spent in creating new community relationships with support organizations. I'm trying to bridge folks that are already interfacing with entrepreneurs and such to work with us in partnership. But as far as, when I do advise clients, I'm just big into bootstrapping. I'm big, especially if they're new, like how to get money, how to prove your concept before, putting together a plan, envisioning this plan, and getting profitable first before asking for capital to fuel. There's a lot of times that you can do reconnaissance, and you can create a strategic plan and limit some of your risk. Yep. And that's oftentimes, if I'm advising folks, just what to do, how to think, how to, maybe some places to go look for things to increase the likelihood that you're not going to be a failure statistic. Or if you are one, how to position yourself to grow from it, because that truly is the only reason that I'm where I'm at, is because I didn't quit yet.
Yeah.
I'm still rolling.
And it's cool with the guests that you get, the customers you get to deal with. Who would have ever thought there would have been 3 veterans that wanted to open up a laundromat?
Right.
I mean, just it's to a lot of other people like, what's the big deal about that? But it's just cool you kind of dig into a little bit about the person, because nobody says, I want to start a business that they hated.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be something behind it that's making, whether it be opportunity or money or the industry or something, I think
freedom. I think it's freedom. I think these guys, like all of us, have this desire for freedom and living life on your own terms and owning something. And, restlessness and discontent is typically the start to somebody having these, increased beliefs in their ability to do something that'll create freedom. And it's, giving them the reality. That's what I hope to impart, the belief that, like, it is possible, living proof, and you should do it. And so hopefully I did that today. That's always my aim.
I'm sure you did. So I was going through your website, the one that I've got going on down here, the timbranyan.com. I noticed one of the things that you talked about was apps, and I think that's something that very few people know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, because I'm a person that fell for this, there's a lot of places out there that will help you cheat the system, and these no-code app builders and stuff like that. But then they run into a lot more money and a lot more frustration trying to implement them. Yeah. How do you use apps and stuff to introduce that to your customers?
Yeah. So, I think a lot of the best way to describe like how to successfully build a platform is to think about it the same way that you would want to build a custom shed in your backyard, right? So the first thing you need to know is, why do I want to build a shed? What is a shed going to do? Who's going to walk into it? Where are they going to walk in from? What sort of roof do I want on this shed? What's the weather in this area? Ultimately, what's the result that you're aiming for your ideal shed? Mm-hmm. The same thing's true if you're wanting to develop a technology solution, a technology shed, if you will, is what's this thing do? Why the hell do I want to make it? What's the ideal result in which it's going to produce for X? Yeah. And once you have this baseline understanding, and hopefully you've perused the internet and looked at competitors and looked at awesome platforms that already exist, and the features, the type of quote unquote gutters you want, right? And what you admire. I think the next phase that we've seen work really well is to design this prototype. And when you're working from a prototype with a clear understanding of what you want, what it does, what are the results going to be for end users, that drastically increases your likelihood of launching your platform. So that's, our phase, just to kind of describe the whole thing. Step one is to extract the idea into a really clear understanding of what you want, why you want it, and what it's going to do for whom.
Mhm.
Then we put that into a clickable prototype or a designed visual experience as well as written. So we're hitting on all these different ways that we can communicate. It's through visual, audio, is that a word? Audible, and written, whatever that word is. And then from there, that's what helps us guide how much time is this going to take? What are the milestones that we can agree on that once it hits here, you can relinquish a payment for our builders to bring it to this level. And it shows trust and communication along the whole process. So that's our process, and those three things. And that's, this again, same, while there's complexities to how it works, that's not necessarily, it's an important thing, but you don't have to necessarily understand the back end and what each line of
Right.
code means in order to build the solution that you're aiming towards. You as a product owner or a company, product manager, project manager, whomever, you need to know the pain points that you're solving. You need to know what you want, why you want it, and what it's going to be like for your customer who's using it. And if you keep focused on those three things, what's possible is very much, it's kind of unlimited at this point with AI and just like advancements in technology. There really isn't much that isn't unfathomable anymore. I know that sounds kind of wild, but it's the truth. If you can dream it up, technology is pretty radical nowadays. It can be built, but I guess the important thing, and what I would change about my way of arriving where I'm at, if I could go back in the future, it would be to, instead of casting a net on LinkedIn or Upwork or different places where I thought I could find a good dev team, I would go to an existing founder, somebody that has a platform or is building software or is, actively has things built, and just ask that person, who's your team? How'd you do this? That way you can just arrive at a good team that can help you actually do the work. 'Cause there's not a shortage of people that are going to tell you they're your guy, but who actually is a good builder, there's some risk in doing that.
Yep.
So I would reverse engineer it.
Yeah. I will tell you, so that is the one part of our nonprofit that I have been struggling with, balancing the money versus what we need.
Mhm.
And for us, it's a little bit different because all we're trying to build is just a little RSS feed for the radio stations, right? To give the people the mobile ability just to listen to the radio station.
Yeah.
And, for me, I didn't want to invest the time to learn how to do it myself. So I tried to use these no code sites, and then Apple's like, yeah, that ain't going to work, buddy.
Yeah.
Because it's not your code. And so I learned real quick that I'm going to have to do it the hard way and start learning how to do it myself. And so that's what, and since I've been starting, I've been fascinated with it. It is really cool when you start, at the kindergarten level and you start working your way up,
It starts there, like you having a problem, right? And wanting the solution. And there's so many great tools out there that you can piece together. You can make things work. And ultimately that becomes a really good blueprint if you want to then take that functionality or this engine that you've slapped together to then have it, put makeup on it, right? Or improve from there. That becomes a really good communication blueprint for technical engineers to bring your thing to life. So I always encourage that, man. Put the pieces together. It's okay to use no code. There's going to be limitations. I think it's okay to use ChatGPT and AI tools to try to write your own HTML or proofread stuff. Like all these tools are great.
I've
But I
used it a lot.
think, it's wonderful. I mean, it truly is wonderful. Now, it's not perfect, and it's good to have a base, like some knowledge as you're critiquing it and using it. But so there's a really cool platform called make.com, which is kind of like Zapier, but even more simplistic, that allows you to do all sorts of cool stuff, creating these engines, if you will, or automations, or features and stuff that you want to put together for your needs. And again, there's no that's not a wrong answer. You can't, and sometimes these no code solutions will help you do what you need to do. It may be a perfect solution. So everybody's different. I think that's part of like, our discovery phase is who are you, where are you at? What are you trying to do? And sometimes it's as simple as, okay, so all you really need, just go here. Here's a platform that you can use for your needs. You don't really need anything custom, which is kind of our specialty, is custom cabinets.
And that's another reason why I went to, I think the first place I tried was Appy Pie. And because we're not looking for anything fancy. I mean, there's probably 5 million different media players out there on the market, so just something that was going to play the music, show the records, and maybe tie it to our blog and to our Roku channel and be done with it, and man, it turned into a lot more than that, just because I couldn't get it on Apple, their product worked great. I just couldn't get Apple to say, okay.
Yeah, they've got pretty strict compliance. I mean, but maybe you look at something that's called a PWA. It's a progressive web app.
Yep.
While it's similar to an app, right? You now can, so if you're familiar with it, for anybody that's not familiar with it, it's basically a platform. It's an app, but it doesn't act. It acts more like a bookmark, but you would never know it's not actually an app. It lives natively on your device. You can click it like an app. You can tap it like an app. Just how you download it it's outside of the Play Store. You share it to your device, download it to your device, but you're not doing it from Apple or Android. And for a lot of folks, that's a really good cost-effective alternative than hosting their stuff on the Play Store. Because if you're on the Play Store, a lot of people don't know this. Apple takes 30%, which is ridiculous. And it's because they can. They're kind of uncontested. So, when we're consulting folks, we want to earn people's business long term, right? So it's within our best interest to tell people, hey, here's how you, just so you're aware, this costs 30%. Here's what we suggest. We want the folks we build platforms for to go on and make more money, because when they make more money and they grow, we're the logical choice for them to work with to continue growing. So it truly is within our best interest to help people. Yeah. And PWAs are a cool solution for a lean startup.
Yep. Yeah. I did use a no code place, and it worked perfect. Just like you said. The only part that I had a hard time with was, it's so easy just to say, hey, go to the Play Store and download this app, where now you've got to educate people a little bit. But I think it's well worth that challenge, because, again, just like you said, once you're on it, it's an app. It looks like an app, and it functioned perfect. I didn't have any issues or anything. I just had an issue trying to educate people to get them to install it.
Sure, and that becomes a UI UX, user interface, user experience sort of obstacle to hurdle, right? So with our PWAs, we use the verbiage "download our app." And when somebody clicks that, it shows them the icons to press, depending on what device they're using. So it just simplifies it. And while it may be a little strange, we're giving them the instruction. And we've noticed that it hasn't, Apple should be worried about this. This is what's happening. And I think the future, to some degree, will be in PWAs, because it's disruptive towards the monopoly market, which I'm all for that. Let's go freedom, get away from these giants that are taking 30%. That's just ridiculous.
I think in probably over average, the average business doesn't need anything super, super high tech and hard, and so PWAs are, just like you said, those are perfect for, these lawn care businesses and just small little, I just need a place for people to sign up for my service and pay for the service, and look cool. And it's easier to develop a website than it is to make an app that Apple's going to be cool with, and that PWA is going to run off of that website. So
yeah, Apple, and this is, I guess, just, kind of their unique selling proposition of being on their marketplace. They have a really well curated suite of apps because of this rigorous process to be listed. So there's certain standards or prerequisites and things. So it is, it does, as far as regulations, it keeps some things safe. There are good reasons for it. It's a very good storefront, if you will. But I disagree with taking 30% for being just that. That doesn't compute.
Yeah, well, you add that in taxes, man. There's 60% gone between those two.
Yeah, it just kills. I mean, 10%, 5%, that's reasonable, but that would kill their profit. I don't know. It's just a marketplace. It's not.
Yep.
It's not like they're helping me develop the app. They're
Right.
just allowing it for distribution. So.
Yep. They're the Amazon. That's
it.
So let me kind of dig into a little bit with your software company and the other stuff that you're doing, right? If you had to pivot and say I can only do one, what side would you go? Because it sounds like you really do enjoy the building of the software and stuff as well.
Yeah. So I think about that now. I've got so many different things that I do and build on, and some of it's just learning, like, what do I enjoy? What is the sweet spot? And, sort of laser focus in, like my goals have shifted. I'm in, right now, this philosophy that I have, or the objective, is to make as much as possible for a financial strategy. Like I've got a goal of putting, X amount of dollars into this financial strategy that I can earn passively on just parked money. It's this new sort of educational journey that I'm on now, understanding the money markets and financial strategies and setting up systems there. So that's really has absorbed a lot of my bandwidth. So, I mean, to answer the question, like right now, my focus is shifting towards the most high ticket thing that we can sell. And then the high ticket thing that also has a monthly recurring revenue associated to it and a great result that doesn't take a lot of time. So there's a couple areas that I've spun up. One of them's, they're both technically in the tech world, but we've really kind of found a sweet spot with offering, I don't even know how to describe it, offering CRMs / affiliate management platforms to professional service companies. So we built a couple of our own affiliate management platforms for our own needs and own wants. And then we discovered, oh, wow, a lot of people could benefit from this. A lot of people really want this. We could sell this and earn ongoing and be a distribution partner or a marketing partner for professional service providers that, traditionally have just relied on cold calls or relied on belly-to-belly conferencing or networking rather. So we've just kind of accidentally found the sweet spot. And it's in the, right now we've got a couple clients. One's in the insurance industry. The other one's in the finance world. And it's just two fun industries. And then being the tech vertical for them is this fun, sweet spot that I think's that's going to be like where we focus in. And then a military partner of mine is running the vertical of government procurement and contracting for our company. That's a big target area of ours to disrupt in a good way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I believe also on your app or on your website, you said something about cryptocurrency. Are you into cryptocurrency as well?
I think that, I don't know, maybe. So I had my engineers build my website. So maybe that's a blog on there. I don't, it's just for SEO. So there's a lot of SEO blogs on there, and that's strategic to create search traffic. So we write on a lot of different topics that are hot like that month or that week or that, like what's going on. So there's a system there that, as far as like me personally being into crypto, I watch it. I think I took 10 grand and invested it across a bunch of different coins a couple years ago, and then I haven't really touched it. I'm just gonna let it go. I watch it, I observe it from like a technology standpoint. I'm not super impressed like with what's happening yet. I know it's got a future. I think more and more I'm personally interested in Bitcoin, like the more disruptive or the more unstable things perceivingly become, the more I'm interested in that as a solution. As far as any of the meme coins, not interested. I was never interested in NFTs. I thought that was the weirdest thing ever.
Me too.
I didn't understand. I still don't understand.
Me neither.
Just didn't compute. It makes sense maybe in the gaming industry where people are buying rare skins and stuff like that for their avatar, but
Yeah.
I don't see them being worth millions. Like, that's kind of radical. Let's see. I like things that solve problems and disrupt industries. So like the coins or the tech that really interests me were like directly competing with AWS or Amazon Web Services, and disruptive Wi-Fi technology through crypto, or this network where people are empowering one another's Wi-Fi data. Stuff like that's really interesting. But the most crypto projects I've seen are just really good at writing white papers to sell.
Yep.
And it's not really about actually solving the problem, and that's disgusting to me. It's like that's all it really was a money grab. So I'm really anxious to see the teams that build disruptive solutions that have the ability, capability, intent. But I think right now they're just smothered in fakes. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch. That's for sure. I don't have any specific projects that I'm like excited about or anything that's really captured my attention.
Yeah, I agree with you in a lot of different ways. Like, I think that a lot of the people that are building crypto, they built something before they realize what it is that they're going to use it for. It was like they were afraid that the train was going to pass them by if they didn't get this built. But even like XRP, XRP started as one thing, and now it's a whole nother thing, and it ruins the trust in that product, and there's a few out there that I do believe in. I'm more of a watcher too. I don't have any investment in any of them. And I do think that at some point Bitcoin could be a currency of some sort. It helped Venezuela. A lot of those people, when their money went to crap, a lot of them switched to Bitcoin and stuff like that to just to put food on the table. So yeah, I think it's really cool, man.
I did too. I'm watching stuff, but again, I look for utility. What's solving problems? What's making things easier? What's a slam dunk as far as what consumers want to? I don't know. I think I'm worried about what are the SBDC, the decentralized bank. What's it called?
Yeah.
Whatever they're called.
You're talking about like the SEC? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the banks that are digital banks, digital banking system. Like, I think that's they, being the powers to be, see the value in creating those while offsetting like the bad. I can't remember what they're called, but these bank systems that are just all digital, I don't think that's a great thing.
Me neither.
That being said, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen any. I'd love to see some really cool projects and see the team that's, has got the capability and is actively looking to provide solutions for a market. It's just, I think a lot of them are just super hyped, and there's no real rubber to the road. I don't know. We'll see. Plus it's so complex right now. I think the company that simplifies the process of transacting and showcasing, simplistically what the value is in a currency that we're all aware of, like the USD. That'll be an interesting project. Just the simplification of using it and transacting with it, because right now it's just not easy. I mean, it's not common sense. It's not like our typical system. It's very much complex, I think, for the normal user. So it's like, knowing that that's a problem, there should be companies working on, and maybe there are teams working on the simplification of transact, like building that technology. Maybe that's not even crypto. Maybe that's just a front end.
Yeah.
And
that's what it's going to take. That is what it's going to take, because you think about, me trying to explain to my 85-year-old mom, no, you no longer pull anything out of your wallet. But if you don't have this 24-word key,
Phrase. Yeah.
lose all your money and nobody can ever get it back again. I mean, there's so many things that they've got to before it can be mainstream. They've got to make it
Simplify.
easier for people to use, you know.
Mhm.
So
I think it'll happen over time. There has to be an industry. So like I think, with one of the platforms that I own, I feel like we have a good opportunity to create our own wallet or transaction system.
mhm,
So we own a similar platform to like, Patreon or OnlyFans.
mhm,
Essentially, we help content creators get paid to post all over the world. And, that logic of somebody buying digital products, whether it's modeling content, music, whether it's access to education, etc. There's transactions happening right now as we speak.
yep,
So the idea of having a wallet system or a token where someone can buy it for this much and it's now transacting, you can use it to purchase things internal of a system. I can
mhm.
see companies wanting to do that
Oh,
uh, to avoid the egregious processing fees and some of the infrastructure of that merchant processing world to,
yep,
it's really not favorable to the vendor. Oftentimes, if you've ever processed payments, especially digital payments, it's considered high risk, high volume. That you get, they cut into your profit for the ability to send transactions. And that's something
yep.
that I think people will, that's a solution people are looking for to get away from that.
Yeah, no, yeah, and just the cost as well. These stores, I don't know what say Walmart pays to have coins delivered from the bank to them, just so they can give people change.
I didn't
I
even
mean,
think about that. Yeah.
I'm sure
Wild.
that's a pretty big expense. But I think I do think at some point we will become all digital. It's
Mhm.
inevitable. You know, um,
Yeah.
I think it has to. I don't necessarily hope so, because of the way our tax laws are set up. The where I'm not even so much worried about the government knowing what I'm spending on. It's just now you have to really watch. Did I give my kid an allowance that's going to require a tax return now?
Yeah, man, I love free. I love personally, like I love free market, and I think capitalism is let me be specific. Uninterrupted capitalism is a
Hmm.
great ecosystem. It's the best that I think there is, but it has to be uninterrupted.
Yeah.
It's like this ecosystem. You think about it like a forest. It's like if we're moving logs and we are improving trails, bulldozing things over, or something falls over, is getting ready to fall over, we're propping it up. That's going to naturally interrupt the way of the ecosystem.
Yep.
And it's like that's really what the mega issue has been, is our government getting involved, supporting, helping, uh, you know, preserve, right? Or it's just no, you leave it alone. You let companies die that need to die. You let new emerging companies happen. You don't get involved as much,
Yep.
and that's the opposite. I think of what's happening is we're relinquishing a lot of control on the sake of for the sake of catastrophe, or for the sake of it's typically masked as like this solution,
Mhm.
and this major problem that they're going to solve. It's like no, it's best if you allow the market to be the market, create
Yep.
changes, and granted, there's I don't know, that's a complex thing. So it's like getting into some of that. It's yeah, like I'm for some regulation, but at the
Right.
same time, like there is definitely too much and a growing too much. I feel, and that's me working in state. It's me working in. I may get in trouble for saying that. We'll see. That's my thought.
Oh, absolutely. I do agree with you. There has to be regulation, but there is a such thing as too much, as well
Yeah.
as there is a such thing as too little.
I
So,
think, man, too. I don't know. I'll be fully transparent. I think that I think we're segregating to like championing segregation.
mhm,
So for me as a vet, I'm a disabled vet. they're putting me in a category in which I need further help, or I need further this, or it's like I'm in this category of human being. It's like, no, man, the characteristics that you need to be successful are still the same.
Yep.
And whether I'm a veteran, whether I'm a male, a female, whether I'm, fill in the blank with these different segregated groups. And it's like, I get it. Like there's some folks that have a different starting point, and I get it that there's some folks that do clearly have a disadvantage or an advantage, but still the market, your consumer, your buyer, the rules of success are the same for everyone,
Yep.
whether you served overseas or not. And it's like that truth has to be told. And, I think it happens because there's grants and there's money that's allocated to different groups. And, it's a little, I'm learning a ton, but basically these groups, will get allocated funds if they hit certain metrics.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't, what the problem is we're not calculating why these metrics aren't being hit. It could be for a positive thing, but it's like, if you don't spend your 7 million this year, it's like that we're taking away your budget.
Yep.
And that's not always the best thing to do. I would argue that if we looked at the analytics and we saw why an organization or a group didn't spend all this money, and it was a positive thing, we should incentivize like the value that's being created. But it's really challenging to do that with all the analytics and the dance, what I call it, to the powers that be that are pushing money into the market. So it's like, what is that system that determines true value? That's something that would need to be looked at by smarter people than me. But I think that's a true like gap is, all these organizations that are getting capital. One, I don't think they should be segregated. I think we should all be Americans and humans, and the characteristics should be provided across the board. And I'm a veteran saying this who gets access to special shit. It's like,
yep.
I'll be the first one to say, this is my opinion. Personally, don't think we need access to special shit in the entrepreneurship world. I think we all need access to special shit and to, level the playing field of what we can do as Americans would be a prosperous thing. But that's a tough conversation to have when a lot of folks have been programmed to think that they are more or less than what they are because of their status.
Yeah.
That's a misconception.
It is not easy to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I don't care what field, what industry you go into. And so everybody's looking for that help, to that one thing. What do I have that sets me different? What can I get some money for? And I learned a shit ton just from the 6 years that I owned a business. And I learned one word that is extremely important. It's called capital. And you need a lot of it because, trucking companies are not a huge profit margin companies. And but they are a high overhead company. And so, I did suffer during COVID. I did use the PPP, and everything that was out there, if it wasn't for the PPP, I probably would have closed my doors even sooner, just because I picked the wrong time to change the trailer that was on my back. And I went to flatbedding, and that's all infrastructure type stuff that wasn't happening during COVID. So
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Did you have employees?
I had 2
employees.
So I was small. Yeah. I only had 2 trucks, and it was me and a couple other people, a guy helping.
Did you ever look into ERC?
I did not.
I don't know if there was a minimum of employees. You check out the ERC, Employee Retention Credit. I'll send you info after this, but they're in a moratorium right now, but that was a real thing that employers could get up to $26,000 per W-2 employee if they met criteria that showed that they experienced hardships, right? Whether it was government mandates that slowed you down, whether it was, logistical issues. There's some specificity to that and an application process, and obviously forms that you submit and send through. But if you were deemed eligible, there's real money out there. They've since added a moratorium for that because there was so much fraud and abuse of that program. A lot of marketers and people got involved in it and pushed it negatively. And as a result, a lot of people faked things. So anyway, so that's where that status of that is now. But yeah, it was a really helpful thing.
Yeah,
Back at that
absolutely.
time.
Well, brother, I'm going to give you the opportunity. I'm going to bring you forward and give you the chance to tell the world where they can find you and any important stuff that you want them to know.
Yeah, cool. So pretty much to find me, just get on Google, look up Tim Branyan. You can see it on the screen if you're watching this, TIMBRANYAN. Go to my website, timbranyan.com. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Again, Tim Branyan across all social medias. And then I guess something that I'd just like to impart. One, thank you for your service if you're a veteran listening to this. And two, if you're that person that's kind of restless and discontent and looking for change, my recommendation would be to do something different or, get in the way of opportunity. I'm just a big proponent that entrepreneurship is a great way to put wind in your sails, give you some purpose, and align you with, a new mission forefront. It was great for me. Really easy way to do that. You could Google SBDC near me and find a center if you're here in the United States. But if I can ever be of service to you, I just want you to know that I'm down to do that as well. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, brother, I'm going to put you in the green room and throw the exit video out there. I appreciate you coming on, man. I learned a lot of cool stuff. I love talking about different tech stuff, even if it's things that I've never used. I'm just fascinated with everything because I think as a country, man, we're very innovative. We can build a lot of cool stuff. So
it's cool what we're doing, man. Not just here in Indiana, but across the country. It's awesome. So thanks, Donald, for having me on. And yeah.
All right. I'll be with you in a minute. Bye. All right, everybody. So, it is cool when we get to have these kind of conversations because, nobody knows everything and there's always a lot of cool stuff out there. So, the one part I really want you guys to take about this, because it is not easy, especially if you're a veteran getting out of the military and you want to start your own business, man. There's a lot to it before you just go out there, jump into it and start spending money. Take the time, go check out your small business SBAs and even, talk with your local chamber of commerces and start educating yourself and talking to people. People like Tim, awesome people out there that are willing to help you. You just got to be willing to ask the questions. So I hope you all enjoyed the show. I know I did. As always, I want y'all to not let the day kick your ass, kick the day's ass. Y'all take care, be safe, and we'll see y'all next time.